to it. It's UFC London, Blaydes and Aspinall headlining. It's going to be the Molly, the Meatball, and Paddy Pimblett show, I'm sure, in the on the undercard, not necessarily the prelims, but and then guy we've been hyping forever, Chris Curtis, in the co-main event against Jack Hermanson, and he's a favorite, which I'm shocked. That's second fight in a row that he's a favorite. He was a favorite against Rodolfo Vieira as well. So what a crazy run this dude's on. But the main event, Curtis Blaydes and Tom Aspinall, big heavyweight fight. One thing I was surprised, and I don't know if you know this, I mentioned this before in another fight, and then you corrected me, but I double and triple checked my stats this time. Curtis Blaydes and Tom Aspinall, neither one of these guys has ever been an underdog going into their fight, which shocked me because Blaydes fought Francis Ngannou, and he was a favorite going into that fight.
Even the second fight when they headlined in like China or somewhere, he was the favorite then.
Well, what are you talking about? The one that this 141 in Beijing, he was a favorrit there. Did they fight before that? Yeah. Well, unless it's wrong on topology, it says he was minus 245 favorite.
Wow. Because that came after. I don't know. That was Francis's first fight after the Derek Lewis fight. So yeah, I could see. Yeah. I could see why he was the underdog there,
and he was a favorite in the first one as well.
Well, the first one was Francis's second UFC fight. So yeah, I can see that.
But yeah, he was a minus 245 favorite against Ngannou in the fight. Yeah, the fight that they headlined in Beijing. But yeah. So yeah, and then Aspinall obviously is, he's been a huge favorite in like almost every fight. But yeah, it's crazy that these two guys are and Blaydes is a guy that you don't really think about as a contender because he always loses when he's just about there. And he lost to Lewis, he lost to Ngannou twice. But that's it. Like that's all his losses. And then Aspinall's only two losses were early in his career, and he's been just a steamroller in UFC, and a guy that you're super high on. I think we both think he's probably a future champion. And this is his biggest fight on the biggest, he'll be the biggest star there, maybe, if Paddy isn't. Tell us about this fight and how do you think it's going to go down?
This is a very intriguing fight, and I'm really looking forward to it. Curtis Blaydes, his last fight against Chris Daukaus, his striking was so good in that fight. Yeah. In that fight, like incredibly, like just improved, and he knocked out Daukaus in the second round. But Aspinall, he's a very good striker, but his wrestling is super underrated. But Curtis Blaydes has some of the best wrestling at heavyweight, if not the best. So if they get in a grappling battle, it could be very interesting. On the feet, I mean, if the Blaydes of March shows up again, he might put Aspinall in some trouble on the feet. Very intriguing fight, and I really think it could go either way. Either way, as high as I am on Tom Aspinall, I mean, this is his toughest test to date for sure, and this will show whether he's ready for that title fight, or if he just needs maybe one or two more wins over, top 10 guys. But this is a huge step in the top 5. But I'm super looking forward to this fight, and I have a real hard time seeing which way it's going to go. But I do think Aspinall will win.
If Aspinall waxes him, if he gets a quick stoppage, I mean, he's earned a title shot, but I don't know when he gets it.
Well, we're gonna talk a little bit about that here in a bit. So, but yeah, it's just
and he almost will need another fight just to keep busy. Because you don't want to keep him on the shelf for a year. Blaydes' career kind of reminds me, so far the way it's gone, of another guy that's on this main card, and that's Gustafsson. Yeah. If you think about it, Gustafsson was always almost got to that light heavyweight title, and then he fought for a couple times, but kind of the same thing, and he'd beat everybody underneath him. But as soon as he had to face like a John Jones or Daniel Cormier or Rumble Johnson, like that's when he'd lose. And, and that's Blaydes kind of so far. And even if he loses to Aspinall, we may look back in 2 years and say, oh my God, like the only guys he's lost to were, like Ngannou and Aspinall, like two of the greatest heavyweights of all time. We might be saying in a few years. But yeah, I'm just as intrigued as you are. And I think I don't know, like maybe it's my pro wrestling mind or something, but I just feel like the crowd is going to be the difference here somehow. Like he's going to be fueled by the crowd or something, and he's going to pull out that win, and he's definitely not going to want to quit. So, he may get knocked out, but I can't see him submitting. And if it goes the distance, I mean, I suppose Blaydes probably would be, if you told me the fight was going to go 25 minutes, I would say, oh yeah, it's probably Blaydes' fight, but Aspinall may get fueled on by the crowd. Like, who knows? But we haven't seen Aspinall's conditioning, so he's never gone 25 minutes in a fight that we've seen. So that could also be a factor if he doesn't put him away early. But yeah, and then it's a big card, like up and down. I mentioned Chris Curtis, I mentioned Paddy, Molly McCann's also on the card. Can you ever see them? I mean, I'm sure at some point it'll happen, but not in the near future. Like anytime like Paddy fights, Molly has to be on the card, right? Like,
I mean, it makes sense. It makes sense. They're teammates and they train together, and you always kind of want to get people from the same gym, on the same card for a multitude of reasons.
But it's also like a storyline. Like everybody's going to want to see it, right? Like when, I mean, there's sports fans and then there's, sports entertainment fans. And in a lot of cases, that Venn diagram of pro wrestling and UFC, everybody that came into this from pro wrestling is totally into this Molly McCann, Paddy Pimblett thing. Like I gotta think, like, just Meatball Molly, fighting and then coming out as a cheerleader, and Paddy Pimblett, as Owen Hart meets Conor McGregor, is just, I'm here as long as it lasts. Like, but I'm looking at this fight with Jordan Levitt, and it could end here. This is not an easy fight that they've given him.
No, it's not, but it's the right. They're bringing him along slowly, but it's the proper next step in my opinion. Because Jordan Levitt, he's 3-1 in the UFC. He's looked good, but he's still like low level lightweight when you kind of look at it, because he's got a lot of inexperience, and the guys he's beaten. I mean, yeah, Matt Wyman is a veteran, but the guys he's beaten,
Matt Wyman was, I mean, he was more than a veteran. Yeah,
he's done. I mean, he hadn't fought forever. Yeah, forever when that fight happened. And then Levitt lost to Claudio Puelles, who's looked impressive. But I mean, Matt Sales and Trey Ogden, like these guys are like, lower on the totem pole than both Paddy and Levitt. So I mean, it's the proper step for Paddy, because if you're bringing him along slowly, but it's a good fight. But Levitt is horrible on his feet. Okay, we'll just put it to you like that. Paddy's not some super duper great striker, but he's better than Levitt on the feet. But the ground game, which both they excel at, I mean, that could be super interesting. I don't know that Paddy's usually good at submitting people, and sometimes he makes it look easy. But Jordan Levitt's going to be very hard to submit. I mean, he can submit him, but it's going to be very hard. It's a good fight to see where Paddy's at right now, because let's be honest, like there's still some people out there who are, who the jury's still out on him for some people.
And then we got Chris Curtis and Jackrance, and we talked about it. Chris Curtis took this fight on short notice, filling in for Darren Till, and Darren Till's gonna be cornering him. You said last week, right?
Yeah, that's what Chris Curtis says. So Darren is already gonna be at the show. I mean, he's teammates with Tom Aspinall, and I think they have Mokaev in that camp too. So there's a whole bunch of guys on that camp on the show.
And so that's where I'm wondering, like, who the crowd's going to be behind, because Chris Curtis is such a nice guy. He's going to have Darren Till in his corner. He's going to be coming out to Sweet Caroline. I'm willing that into existence. And then Jack Hermanson, Jack the Joker, is big star over there too. I think that's just gonna be a fun fight. I can see these guys are just going to be happy no matter what happens. They're probably going to hug after the fight, and I'm pumped up for this card, like really, like more than a lot of pay-per-views. I'll be honest with you. I'm really
great lineup.
Yeah, and coming off that last London show, which was just one of the best fight nights you'll ever see. I'm just hoping that we see the same thing again. We got UK fighters all up and down the card. So as we do that, why don't you give us the 3 fights to watch out for?
I will say it's kind of disappointing that this show is on ESPN Plus and not put on ESPN because with the crowd, like I think that would be just great.
I can't believe they're doing that. I didn't even realize it. Oh
yeah,
wow.
I mean, yeah. I don't know what's going on Saturday.
Yeah, what's going on? There's nothing going on.
They usually don't. They usually don't do UFC like on ESPN in the middle of the afternoon. It's usually prime time in London. It's.
But I have no idea what's going. I think there's women's soccer. Like I think is the big thing on ESPN right now. The women's Euros.
I don't know. I haven't looked at the schedule.
Yeah,
I haven't looked at the schedule.
But there's I guess baseball, but yeah, I guess there's a lot of baseball. But anyways,
ESPN doesn't do baseball except on.
Oh, really?
Sunday
Okay.
Night, except on Sunday nights. So
okay. I didn't know that.
No, but anyway, 3 fights to watch. I'm going to go first with a flyweight fight, Muhammad Mokaev against Charles Johnson.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going with that because I am super high on Mokaev. Like, this guy is going to be a flyweight champion. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. And he's, 20 or 21 years old?
Jesus.
Just incredible. Undefeated. Like, this guy is going to be a star for the next 15 years in the UFC. So keep your eye on him. Second fight I'm going to go with is just because, it's intriguing to see what happens in this fight, and it's light heavyweight fight between Nikita Krylov and Alexander Gustafsson, just because we haven't seen Gustafsson in 2 years, and I'm just intrigued to see, is he coming back for a paycheck like he looked like against Verdum? Looked heavyweight, looked out of shape, looked like he was just there for a paycheck, or is he coming back to actually try to be a title contender? Because if he comes back and he can look like the Alexander Gustafsson who was in title contention for years, that's a big shot in the arm for the light heavyweight division, and it's kind of a perfect matchup for him because Krylov is super good on the ground. Okay on the feet, but it's a good test for Gustafsson and just to see where he's at and all that. And third fight to watch. I mean, everything I want to see is on the main card, so I'm going to go with Hermansson and Chris Curtis because I loved the fight between Hermansson and Till, and when you have to replace either one of those guys with somebody, Chris Curtis is as good as it gets, especially on 3 weeks notice. That's a super interesting matchup because Hermansson he's good on the feet, but he excels again in grappling, and Chris Curtis has just been pulling wins out of his ass in ways we don't expect him to. And it's just such a great story, and yeah, this fight should be very entertaining.
I think Chris Curtis recently passed Brian Ortega in my personal top 5. Not that Ortega did anything wrong, just it's just one of those things. I have my favorite 5, and Chris Curtis is now in there. So
you're like Booker T with your fave 5. Yeah.
There you go. Can't believe you didn't mention Molly Meatball, but we'll get to her.
I just her matchup to me is it such just feels it feels like such a setup for her to win. I mean, not knocking Hannah Goldie or anything, but Hannah Goldie's 1 and 2 in the UFC.
Yeah, no,
So
it's just there. So she
it
doesn't
hasn't
have
fought.
to.
It hasn't fought in like 2 years. So
Yeah. So for me, I've got my 3 UFC ROI picks, and last week they were 1 and 2, but one of them was Brian Ortega, and I mean that it's hard to say what would have happened if Ortega would have won. We would have had a profit. As it was just a very small loss because one of my picks was an underdog. But I've got 2 underdogs and 1 favorite. So my first one is in the very first fight of the night, actually, Claudio Silva against Nicholas Dalby. Claudio Silva is a plus 225 underdog, and he's got an 85% ROI, and he's got a 3-2 record as an underdog. So that is my first UFC ROI pick. Second one is Jonathan Pierce against Mr. Finland, which kind of hurts because you know how much I love Mr. Finland. But he's got an 87% ROI, and he's a minus 225 favorite. But the thing is, the reason he's got such a high ROI is because of his underdog wins, but he's only 1-1 as a favorite. So that one I'm not quite as confident as I usually am, especially with an 87% ROI. But the other one is a big one. Paul Craig has 108.1% ROI, which means like you're almost guaranteed to double your money when you bet on him. And he's a plus 125 underdog against who's he fighting? Oh, Volkan Ozdemir. And man, like I was surprised that he's an underdog in that fight, and I'm putting all my money down on that dude.
I mean, Paul Craig has won 4 in a row and unbeaten in his last 6, and Ozdemir's lost like 3 in a row.
Yeah, I mean that one just sticks out like a sore thumb.
No, he's lost 2 in a row, but he's lost 5 of his last 7.
Yeah, he's got a 4-2 record as an underdog with 1 no contest. So, yeah, put down a bet on Paul Craig. I mean, and there's a few, like there's actually a lot of guys with value. Chris Curtis, Jordan Levitt, even Tom Aspinall. He's a very small favorite, so you actually get a pretty decent payoff if he wins. So, I'm going to be putting down a few bets on this card.